Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and well, I won a race. How crazy is that? My first pro win, which is very special, and it's even more special to do it at Challenge Wales because it was 3 years ago, my first pro podium, where I came third, and then last year I came second, and then this year going into it, everyone was saying, oh, you've done the 3-2, you've got to get the W now, like you have to. Genuinely didn't think it was going to happen, and it did. So how crazy is that? So I've gone 3-2-1. I've completed Challenge Wales now, and I don't need to do it again. But I probably will because I absolutely love the race. But now I can't go any better. So yeah, I don't know where I go from here. Anyway, I wanted to obviously talk about the race day, how things happened, because we obviously came off of quite a frustrating, I was going to say result, but I didn't get a result in South Africa. It was a DNF. I've been having these health issues like I've been talking about on the channel, and I don't want to be down in the dumps on this video at all because this is a massive positive, getting the win. But yeah, I haven't been mentally feeling amazing. Physically, definitely haven't been feeling amazing. The training has been going pretty well, like I've been hitting good numbers, but the stomach has just been a real problem, and I was really concerned race week that it was going to be a problem. I was trying to keep things super simple and just basically stay positive. That's essentially all I could do. So yeah, we go towards race day, and I was even saying to my parents race morning, I was like, I think I might just do the swim and bike. Like I genuinely don't know if I can run. I will give it a go, but it genuinely did not feel good at all. So popped a bit of Imodium and just thought, what, let's just crack on and see how we're going. I wasn't bloated like I was in South Africa, but yeah, the stomach wasn't feeling amazing. So lining up for the swim, I'm feeling fairly nervous and apprehensive for the rest of the day, but also quite confident in my swim ability. Now, annoyingly, I don't think I had a good swim at all, actually. I think I didn't show where my swimming is at, and that could be a few tactical errors on my part. Essentially, I lined up on the front. I had Josh Lewis on my left, Jack Hutchins on my left, had Freddie Webb on my right, few other people around, and I basically knew that Josh was going to go out hard, and I basically wanted to slot in behind somewhere. And we run in, and Josh is on the front, Jack Hutchins behind, I'm on Jack's feet, and I just did not feel that comfortable. But I was swimming quite well, and I was managing to stay on feet. Unfortunately, before I could notice, Josh had opened up a bit of a gap in front of Jack. I was too focused on Jack's feet and didn't notice Josh take out a lead, basically. And he's even mentioned after the race, he saw that he had a gap and he just opened up the taps a little bit. I wouldn't have been able to go with him. That's a certainty. But yeah, tactical error on my part for not being as observant as I should be, essentially. We then make our way around the first lap, and I get out with that chase pack, essentially, with Kieran Linders, Freddie Webb, Jack Hutchins. Can't remember who else is in that group, but there's a good few of us. The Aussie exit felt very quick, and I felt very out of breath during the Aussie exit. And that was essentially the theme for the second half of the swim. Running hard during the Aussie exit, and I want to keep up with these guys. And it's a long Aussie exit as well. It's maybe 100 meters or so, maybe a bit longer. I don't really know. It's long enough to get your heart rate up and your breathing up. And I probably ran a bit too quick, wanting to stay in contact with that group. As soon as I jump in the water, my arms feel fine, but I cannot control my breathing at all. I'm so out of breath. And this group comes past. You've got, like I said, all the guys there. Tom Davis as well was in that group. And they slowly come past and they slowly open up a gap on me. And I just cannot close it. It's like my body wanted to, and my brain was saying, close the gap now, close the gap now. The arms are feeling good, just go for it. But my breathing was so out of control, I couldn't close the gap. And it was a very frustrating gap to have. It was maybe 7 to 10 seconds. And I was holding it for most of it. And I was like, this is so annoying. But I was swimming as hard as I could. So yeah, it was quite frustrating. So I get out of the swim in 6th position. And I believe I'm about 20 seconds down from that group, maybe 15, 20 seconds down from that group, and then maybe 90 seconds down from Josh, who opened up a decent gap. And so we'd run to transition. It's a fairly long run to transition. Again, I'm trying to run as hard as I can within reason and try not blow myself up. But I see those boys getting on the bike as I'm unracking, so I'm like, okay, I've got to chase now. Like I have to catch this group, because if they work really well together, then I'm in trouble, essentially. But I knew that I probably could catch them, because more often than not, when you have group dynamics, yeah, you get a little bit of sandbagging going on. And so I was like, I want to get on the bike quick and basically catch this group. So I get on the bike, and I struggle like hell to get my feet in the Bont shoes. So I really need to make sure that I use the physiques now, because that will make my transition far, far smoother. And I noticed that no one's behind. I can't see anyone behind me. So I'm like, okay, I've got a bit of free space, and I just need to settle in and catch this group now. Goes up a hill, and then it starts kind of rolling. And I'm riding fairly hard, and it takes me about 15 minutes to make contact with this group. And I latch on to the back of Kieran Linder's after maybe riding around 350 watts for 15 minutes or so, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And as I look back, I can see Will Draper absolutely ripping it, and he's caught up with me, and I'm like, oh wow, like this guy's riding hard. And as soon as I make contact with the group, as soon as I'm within 15 meters of Kieran Linder's, I feel my pace drop massively. I feel like my power goes from 350 down to like 280. The speed drops, and I'm like, oh man, this is... If Josh was in this group and if this was the front of the race, 100%, I'd stay in it and I'd play the tactical game. However, because Josh was up the road, I just couldn't sit in, because mentally I'm thinking, okay, well, what would I do if I was Josh? If I was off the front, I would absolutely drill it and open up as much of a gap as possible. And I know that Josh is very race savvy, so he knows what he's doing. And I knew that if I would think like that, he would think like that. And he's going to be opening up a gap, because Josh is a very good and very strong rider. So I was thinking, look, if I sit in, I'm basically just committing to racing for second, because Josh is going to ride away from us. So I basically had all those thoughts going through my head within like 20, 30 seconds. And I just went straight to the front. I was like, you know what? We're going. I don't care if the legs blow up. We're going. So after having like 30-second respite after that 15-minute effort, I went straight around. It wasn't a massive surge. It was just to get to the front of the race. And then I didn't have the thought process of dropping everyone else, because I wasn't really that interested in that. I was just interested in sitting at my own pace, keeping the speed high, holding good position, and holding the numbers that I wanted to hold. And then I settled at kind of like 325, 330 watts on the front, but I was making sure that I was in control. I didn't actually mind people sitting on, because as long as I was knowing that I was going as fast as I possibly could to try and either close the gap to Josh or just maintain the gap, or kind of reduce damage essentially, and make sure he doesn't get too far ahead. So we get to the turnaround point, and I noticed that both my bolts to hold in my bottle on the front, I've got 4 bolts that hold my bottle in the front. 2 of them had come out, they just dropped off, and there was a lot of rattling going on. And I didn't actually realise that was the problem, so I thought something was stuck in my disc brake. I was like, so I sat up, I was kind of figuring stuff out, at which point Will Draper rips it past me, and I'm like, okay, no time to figure out what's going on, I've got to sit in and I've got to go. And oh my god, that guy can ride a bike. Like, I don't think I necessarily appreciated how good of a rider Will is. Like, he absolutely ripped it. He was so fast, and I maybe held the gap. I held a gap of maybe 15, 20 meters, and I was trying to close the gap to like 12 meters, because I was like, I'm working too hard, but I literally couldn't. I was riding between 350 and 360 for, yeah, maybe another 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and the gap just opened up and opened up and opened up, and I was like, wow, this guy is flying. And I had to make a conscious decision. I was like, I can keep chasing, but that's going to be a problem later on in the race. And Rob, my coach, had specifically told me to not go over 320 watts or to try and normalize 320 watts for the whole thing, at which point I was I was like an hour in and I'd normalized like 345. So I was like, I might get in a bit of trouble for this. So I was like, I've got to back off and hope that Will is riding too hard, or just that's the level and I can't keep up with it. So I let him go and I settle back to my kind of 320, 330 watts, and I just maintain good position. I try and keep the speed nice and high, keep rolling smoothly. I get to the turnaround point and I can't see anyone behind me. So I'm thinking, wow, okay, I've managed to drop Kieran and Tom and Freddie and all those guys. I think there were some mechanical issues there, which definitely, helped me. And I feel really sorry for the guys. That I think there was a few chains being dropped and stuff like that. So it's really unfortunate to hear that some guys had issues out there. But for me, getting to the turnaround point on my own was quite good. And I noticed that Will had then gone past Josh, and he'd closed that 2 minute gap to Josh, and then he'd rode past him. So I was like, this guy is ripping it, and I've got another 45k to go, so I need to get my head down. Same sort of story on the second 45k, just trying to maintain really good speed. And I felt like I could see Josh in the distance, so I was constantly chasing, but it turns out it wasn't Josh, it was just quite a fast age grouper. So I was chasing, I was like, yeah, I'm going to catch him. And then I got to just an age grouper who's wearing like the same coloured kit as Josh. I was like, oh man, like I thought I had him. Turns out Josh actually rode like maybe 30 seconds into me, which I'm actually quite happy with because, like he's a solid athlete, very, very good athlete. And to only lose 30 seconds, I'm not bummed about at all. So I come into T2 with, I would say maybe a 90-second deficit to Josh, and then a 2-minute deficit to Will. Rack the bike, and this is obviously where I'm thinking, okay, I'm in a good position, but I've been in good positions before in T2, and my stomach has been a massive problem. I'm really, really nervous. And I just was like saying to myself, look, just see how you go. One thing I did massively change on the bike is my carb intake. So I've been religiously trying to target like 100, 110 grams of carbs an hour. And I've chatted to a few people and we've just thought that, maybe my body just can't absorb it. I know I've mentioned it a few times on the channel. I was chatting to Kieran Linders about this before the race. And it's like, maybe I just cannot do it. So on the bike, I had 55 grams of carbs an hour. That's all I had. And I felt fantastic. I didn't feel lightheaded. I didn't feel like I needed anything else. I didn't have too much electrolytes either. Like I felt decent. So getting off the bike, I was like, okay, well, I haven't had much carbs, but I feel really good. So let's just see how this goes. I packed 4 gels into my Fusion suit. Absolutely love that new Fusion suit with the front pockets. It's absolutely dreamy. And the legs just kind of felt good. And I was like, okay, we're just going to run with this and see what happens. And I kept it to kind of like 3:15 per K pace because I was like, things are going to get pretty hard with these hills and I didn't want to go too hard too early on. And I catch Josh through the town and, I noticed that I'm running a fair bit quicker. So I was like, okay, I feel like I can keep ahead of Josh now, which is really good. I know that he's still like an insane athlete, so I didn't want to think ahead too early and think, oh yeah, I've beaten Josh, because you never know. During a half marathon, people can fade, people can come strong in the last lap. And so I was like, okay, I need to make sure I get past Josh and get a bit of distance between us and hope that he doesn't latch on. And luckily he didn't. So I was like, oh, yes, Bosh. We got him. And then I was thinking, okay, well, I'm in second place here. The legs are feeling really good. Slowly start to get a bit of nutrition in. Stomach starting to cramp quite a bit, but luckily, because the run was quite hilly, it gave you a good ability to recover on some sections. So I managed to, go up the hills at a decent pace, maintain my pace over the top, and then recover, and that allowed my stomach to kind of recover on some sections. So it was coming and going. I had a bit of like stitch, crampy kind of sensation, but it was absolutely fine to be able to keep running at the pace that I was running. And then I start to close in on Will, and at the start of the second lap, I managed to get past Will. And Will, I come past him, and he's like, mate, if you hold on to this, like hold the pace, and you've got the win. Like it was really nice of him to say that, because it's like, you know, we're racing each other, and yeah, it's just like, it's really cool to have someone like, you know, someone like that, you know, support you while you're racing each other. And the same goes for Josh as well. You know, he's like, you know, cheering me on as I'm running. Like, it's really, really nice to have that. These guys who I'm, you know, the guys who I, you know, look up to, and want to race, are kind of like, you know, giving me support while I'm racing is really cool. And so yeah, get onto the second lap, overtake Will, and then I'm like, thought process in my head is, have I gone too hard? But the legs still felt good. So it changed from chasing and hunting to management and making sure that I don't blow up, essentially. Because at no point during the run did I think I could win this. Every single second I was thinking, I can still lose this. So I have to be sensible, keep on with the nutrition, keep going through the aid stations properly, making sure you're pacing appropriately. But the course really suited me. Like, I really love that kind of rolling, kind of hilly course. It feels like it's my kind of running, I think. And so just kept the pace on, but backed off slightly to be a bit more reserved. And yeah, managed to enjoy the last lap and come in with a win and run like I think it was a high 112. I don't know how legit the distance is of that run, but I mean, I was running really well, really happy to get the win, and just mega chuffed at, you know, all the support that I've been given since is just absolutely incredible. So I've got to thank everyone out there for supporting, either on the day or on social media. I appreciate it so much. Massive thank you to, you know, Challenge Wales for putting on such a cool event. And like I said, I've completed it now. So yeah, really cool. And it's just given me a massive confidence boost and a bit of positivity going forward towards the next races. On to kind of what's next, because I've had messages from a couple of people questioning kind of what I'm doing, and I've had so many thought processes, but since the weekend I've definitely figured out, or had more of a clear idea of what I wanted to do. I've been trying to crack the Ironman distance with massive degrees of being unsuccessful. Now, long term, I believe, and my coach believes, that Ironman is the right way to go. There's more scope for making it a full-time career, and there are better opportunities in full distance, I believe, if you can crack the distance. And that's a key point, is the if, because it's still a question mark. But for now, I'm going to focus on the 70.3 distance because I feel like it's right for me at the minute, and I will dip my toes back into a full distance later in the year. Probably will be Ironman Barcelona, or it's very likely to be Ironman Barcelona. We will see how things go. But I was entered for Ironman Frankfurt, and I was like, yeah, I want to go for this. And since the weekend, I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to do that actually. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself to try and crack the full right now. I've got plenty of time, and my 70.3 ability is right there, so why not just pursue that a little bit more? And so essentially what I'm going to be doing is 70.3 Swansea in 4 weeks' time, and then I'm going to also be doing 70.3 European Champs in Tallinn. Really looking forward to that. And then I was very unsure whether I was going to take my world slot, purely because it's going to cost a shit ton of money. But I'd be stupid not to. It is in December as well, so it's like, man, training in the UK, like, from September to November is going to be quite difficult, or to December. But I figured if I want to focus on 70.3, why not do the whole hog, go to Europeans, go to Worlds, do Swansea, maybe do another 70.3 in between, maybe Italy or something like that, I'm not too sure, and then can do Ironman Barcelona as well. So that's the focus now going forward. The stomach isn't solved. Like, this doesn't change the fact that I still need to get to the bottom of this, but it just gives me confidence that I can still race like this. And you know, it just goes to show there's still so much that I'm figuring out. You know, I'm a so-called professional athlete, but I still, I have no idea what I'm doing, essentially. So I'm still figuring stuff out, and I'd rather figure stuff out during the 70.3 or while I'm doing 70.3 so I can implement that into Ironman rather than the other way around. And yeah, just kind of it gets messy and stuff like that. So that's yeah, that's where I'm at, and getting back into training slowly this week, and just taking this positivity forward. And yeah, really looking forward to smashing the next one. So thanks so much to everyone for, like I said, supporting during the day and supporting me on social media. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.